The war for the soul of the WNBA just hit a point of no return. After years of absorbing hits, technical fouls, and egregious no-calls that have left fans and coaches fuming, Caitlin Clark has finally broken her silence on what she calls a corrupt officiating system. We've seen the footage. The uncalled shoves, the pokes to the eye, and the vicious targeting that the league's biggest moneymaker has had to endure while referees seemingly look the other way. But in a brand new, explosive 2026 statement that is currently sending the WNBA head office into a state of pure panic, Clark didn't just complain about a missed whistle. She exposed the systemic targeting she's faced since the moment she was drafted. Referring to the officiating as a barrier to the game's integrity, Clark finally addressed the infamous $200 fines and the bench mob, controversy that the league tried to use to silence her. She's calling out the inconsistency that has seen her technical foul count skyrocket while defenders are allowed to wreak havoc on her without consequence. But here is the real bombshell. Clark is now using the NBA standard as her shield, pointing out that what is allowed in the WNBA would lead to immediate suspensions in the men's league. With the 2026 season opener just around the corner and the CBA negotiations on a knife edge, Caitlin's message to the league is cold and clear. The fans are watching, and the truth is out. Today, we are breaking down the specific leaked frustrations from the Fever locker room, the systemic negligence being investigated behind the scenes, and why Aaliyah Boston and Stephanie White are joining the front lines of this referee revolution. The golden girl of basketball is taking the gloves off, and the WNBA's officiating crew is officially on the hot seat. Let's get into the destruction of the narrative. January 2026 was supposed to be a quiet month of recovery for Caitlin Clark. After a grueling 2025 season that saw her fight through a persistent groin injury while carrying the weight of a billion-dollar league on her shoulders, the superstar was expected to keep a low profile. But the WNBA's officiating crisis has reached a level of toxicity that even the most disciplined athlete couldn't ignore. The spark that lit the fire came during a recent sit-down where Caitlin was asked about the bench mob fine from the 2025 playoffs, a $200 penalty for a social media post where she claimed the refs couldn't stop us. While the fine was small change for a woman with a $28 million Nike deal, the principle of the matter has become a rallying cry for the Indiana Fever. "It's not about the $200, Caitlin said, leaning into the mic with a look of cold determination. It's about the fact that the league is more concerned with policing my tweets than they are with policing the people who are hitting me in the head. We've been sending in film for 2 years. We've seen the egregious no-calls that my coach, Stephanie White, has been screaming about. And at a certain point, you have to ask, is this just bad officiating, or is there a different set of rules for me than there is for everyone else?" The data for the 2025 season paints a grim picture. Despite being the most fouled player in the league per 40 minutes, Caitlin Clark ranked significantly lower in free throw attempts than other all-star guards. The film doesn't lie. We've seen the shoulder checks from Natasha Cloud, the flagrant contact from Angel Reese that was initially ignored, and the constant chippy play from the Connecticut Sun that went unpunished until the Fever bench nearly cleared. "We're not asking for superstar calls," Clark continued. "We're asking for safety calls. When you allow defenders to hand-check me across the entire court, or you allow people to shove me midair without a whistle, you're not just letting them play. You're allowing a culture of targeting. And it's not just me. Look at what happened to Aaliyah Boston. Look at how Lexi Hull gets treated. It feels like there's a mission to humble the Indiana Fever, and the referees are the ones holding the whistle." This systematic targeting has become the central theme of the 2026 offseason. Fans have compiled thousands of clips showing Clark being hit, tripped, and poked in the eye while officials stand just inches away, refusing to blow the whistle. It's a level of vicious negligence that has led many to wonder if the league office is intentionally allowing the physicality to ramp up to protect the old guard from being completely eclipsed by the new generation. One of the most powerful points Caitlin made in her 2026 Breaking the Silence moment was her comparison to the NBA. For years, the WNBA has defended its officials by saying the game is grittier and more physical. But Clark isn't buying it. "I watched Steph Curry. I watched Dame Lillard," Clark noted. "If a defender did to Steph what was done to me in the New York Liberty game last May, that defender would be looking at a flagrant 2 and a fine. But in the WNBA, it's just good defense. Why is the standard for the men's game based on skill and spacing? But the standard for the women's game is based on who can survive the most contact. If the WNBA wants to be a major league, it needs major league officiating. You can't have step-up referees working step-down games. It's time to bridge the gap. This NBA Shield argument is currently trending because it highlights the massive infrastructure gap. Unlike the NBA, the WNBA still lacks a centralized replay center in 2026. Referees are forced to huddle around a small monitor at the scorer's table, often while being heckled by fans, leading to pressure calls that consistently favor the home team or the established veterans. You can't talk about the ref war without talking about the woman leading the charge from the sidelines, Stephanie White. In May 2025, after a heartbreaking 90-88 loss to the New York Liberty, White went on an all-time rant, calling the officiating egregious and disrespectful. "The disrespect for this team is unbelievable," White told reporters. "There is a system for us to send stuff in, but I don't have a feeling that the system works. It's a one-way street where we get fined for speaking the truth, while the officials get to go home after making game-altering mistakes without any accountability." By early 2026, White's frustration has turned into a formal grievance. Reports suggest the Indiana Fever have compiled a master file of over 500 plays where officiating directly contradicted the league's own rulebook. This isn't just a rookie coach complaining. This is a calculated legal and professional strike against a system that the Fever believe is rigged to keep them from the mountaintop. The $200 fine might have been intended to silence Caitlin, but it had the opposite effect. It created the bench mob culture. When Caitlin posted "refs couldn't stop us," she wasn't just talking about the Atlanta Dream. She was talking about the 5-on-8 battle the Fever have to play every single night. Aaliyah Boston and Sophie Cunningham have since adopted the bench mob moniker as a badge of honor. "If they're going to fine Caitlin for telling the truth, they're going to have to fine all of us," Cunningham said in a recent TikTok. This culture of defiance has made the Fever the most popular and most polarizing team in the league. They aren't the darlings of the league office. They are the rebels who are succeeding in spite of the system. The corrupt referee narrative isn't just a sports story. It's a business crisis. Sponsors who have poured millions into Caitlin Clark, like Nike, Gatorade, and State Farm, are reportedly concerned about the lack of protection for their primary asset. If the systemic targeting leads to another major injury in 2026, the financial loss to the league and its partners would be catastrophic. The referees are currently the biggest threat to the WNBA's growth, one anonymous sports marketing executive stated. If fans stop believing the games are fair, or if the stars are constantly sidelined by no-call injuries, the bubble will burst. Caitlin Clark is the stock price. If you don't protect the stock, the market crashes. The gloves are off. Caitlin Clark has finally said what every fan has been thinking. The WNBA officiating is at a breaking point. From the $200 fines to the vicious no-calls, the Indiana Fever are no longer playing by the league's rules. They are demanding a new set of rules. We're going to dive into the leaked audio from the Connecticut Sun game where an official was caught telling Caitlin to grow up after she was shoved. We'll look at the ref grading scandal that is currently rocking the league office, and we'll see why Adam Silver might have to step in to save the WNBA from its own officiating. The ref war is just getting started. The war for the soul of the WNBA just hit a point of no return. After years of absorbing hits, technical fouls, and egregious no-calls that have left fans and coaches fuming, Caitlin Clark has finally broken her silence on what she calls a corrupt officiating system. We've seen the footage, the uncalled shoves, the pokes to the eye, and the vicious targeting that the league's biggest moneymaker has had to endure while referees seemingly look the other way. But in a brand new, explosive 2026 statement that is currently sending the WNBA head office into a state of pure panic, Clark didn't just complain about a missed whistle. She exposed the systemic targeting she's faced since the moment she was drafted. Referring to the officiating as a barrier to the game's integrity, Clark finally addressed the infamous $200 fines and the bench mob controversy that the league tried to use to silence her. She's calling out the inconsistency that has seen her technical foul count skyrocket, while defenders are allowed to wreak havoc on her without consequence. But here's the real bombshell. Clark is now using the NBA standard as her shield, pointing out that what is allowed in the WNBA would lead to immediate suspensions in the men's league. With the 2026 season opener just around the corner and the CBA negotiations on a knife edge, Caitlin's message to the league is cold and clear. The fans are watching, and the truth is out. Today, we are breaking down the specific leaked frustrations from the Fever locker room, the systemic negligence being investigated behind the scenes, and why Aaliyah Boston and Stephanie White are joining the front lines of this referee revolution. The Golden Girl of basketball is taking the gloves off, and the WNBA's officiating crew is officially on the hot seat. Let's get into the destruction of the narrative. When the WNBA handed down a $200 fine to Caitlin Clark for her "refs couldn't stop us" comment during the 2025 playoffs, they thought they were making an example out of her. Instead, they accidentally created the most powerful protest movement in the league's history. In her explosive 2026 interview, Caitlin finally pulled back the curtain on why that fine was the best $200 she ever spent. She revealed that the league didn't just fine her for the tweet. They sent her a formal warning about protecting the image of the officials. "I laughed when I got the email," Caitlin admitted. "You want me to protect the image of the people who sat there and watched a player poke me in the eye and then shove me to the ground, only to call it a common technical? You want me to stay quiet while my teammate Sophie Cunningham gets a flagrant 2 for a common foul, while our opponents get upgraded calls only after the internet starts a riot?" The fine was a joke. The real bench mob isn't just a celebration. It's a protest against a system that thinks it can buy our silence for $200. One of the most shocking revelations of Part 2 involves a leaked audio clip from the June 2025 matchup against the Connecticut Sun, a game that has become the patient zero of the referee controversy. During a heated exchange following a no-call where Caitlin was clearly chucked mid-transition, an on-court mic caught an official telling Clark to "just grow up and play" after she pointed to the obvious contact. When an official tells you to grow up after you're hit in the throat, it tells you everything you need to know about the bias, Clark shared. In any other professional league, that official would be reprimanded for unprofessional conduct. In the WNBA, it's treated like veteran hazing. We aren't asking for special treatment. We're asking for the officials to do their jobs without a personal agenda. If you can't separate your feelings about my hype from the rules of the game, you shouldn't be wearing the whistle. Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White have now gone a step further, calling out the lack of transparency in the league's official grading system. Unlike the NBA, which provides last 2-minute reports to the public, the WNBA keeps its officiating reviews behind closed doors. Stephanie White revealed that she has been tracking these internal reviews for over a year. "The league admits to us behind the scenes that they missed 60% of the calls we challenge," White stated in a separate January 2026 brief. But where is the accountability? The same officials who make these egregious mistakes on Tuesday are back on the court on Thursday. It's a culture of protectionism. They are protecting the officials' feelings while our players are getting injured. Caitlin added to this, highlighting the structural negligence of the league. She pointed out that in 2026, the WNBA still doesn't have a centralized replay center like the NBA. Referees are forced to huddle around a 12-inch monitor at the scorer's table, often while being intimidated by opposing coaches and screaming fans. "You can't expect consistency when you don't provide the tools," Clark argued. "The league is worth billions now. We have expansion teams paying $200 million to get in. Spend some of that money on a replay center in New Jersey. Stop making the officials guess." While Caitlin is the face of the ref war, she made sure to highlight the vicious double standard applied to Aaliyah Boston. Clark defended her teammate, calling Aaliyah the most disrespected post player in the world. "Aaliyah is getting held, grabbed, and scratched every single time she touches the ball," Caitlin noted. "But because she doesn't flop and because she's stronger than everyone else, the refs just let it go. It's like they have a rule that says if you're too good, you don't get the whistle. It's the same thing they do to Aya Wilson, and it's the same thing they do to me. They use physicality as an excuse to ignore the rules of basketball." Caitlin's defense of Boston has been hailed as a masterclass in leadership. By shifting the focus to her teammate, she's proving that this isn't just Caitlin complaining. It's a systemic issue affecting the elite stars of the game. As we head into the 2026 Commissioner's Cup, Caitlin Clark has reportedly issued an ultimatum to the league office. While she hasn't threatened a strike yet, sources close to the Fever suggest that Clark is considering skipping certain high-risk games if the league doesn't address the targeting. "I love this game and I want to play every minute," Caitlin said. "But I also have a responsibility to my career and my health. If the league is going to allow a free-for-all environment where I can be poked in the eye or shoved out of bounds without protection, I have to make business decisions. My sponsors are watching. My family is watching. And the fans who paid $2,000 for a resale ticket are watching. They don't pay to see me sit on the bench with a groin injury because a ref didn't want to hurt a defender's feelings. The script concludes with a direct comparison between the super team, officiating, and the Fever's treatment. Caitlin pointed to the May 18, 2024, game in New York as the moment she realized the fix was in. In New York, the Liberty gets every touch foul, she observed. But when we go to New York, it's legal contact for them to chuck me off the ball. We've seen the film. We've done the math. The discrepancy in free throws is undeniable. It's almost like the league wants to maintain the old hierarchy. They want the established teams to win, and they want the new kids to wait their turn. But we aren't waiting anymore. We're taking our turn, whether the officials like it or not. The evidence is mounting. Caitlin Clark has exposed the vicious negligence of the WNBA officiating corps, from the grow-up audio to the $200 intimidation tactics. The Indiana Fever are officially at war with the whistle. We're going to look at the Silver intervention. Is NBA Commissioner Adam Silver about to take over the WNBA's officiating department? We'll look at the referee boycott rumors. Are the officials actually planning to walk out in protest of the Caitlin effect? And finally, we'll see how this ref war is going to define the 2026 finals. The truth is coming out, and it's not pretty. As the 2026 season approaches, the most significant pressure on the WNBA hasn't come from the fans or the media. It's come from the brother league. In a private meeting reportedly held in early January, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert discussed the resource gap that is currently threatening the WNBA's integrity. While the NBA has rolled out state-of-the-art Riedel Bolero-esque communication systems, allowing referees to speak directly to an off-site replay center in Secaucus, New Jersey, the WNBA is still operating like it's 2005. Caitlin Clark's corrupt call-out wasn't just an emotional outburst. It was a targeted strike at this lack of infrastructure. The NBA doesn't let their stars get poked in the eye and then tell them to grow up, Caitlin noted in the final segment of her interview. They have a replay center that looks at every angle. They have a system that protects the game's flow and its players. If we are truly one basketball family, why am I still waiting 3 minutes for a ref to look at a tiny monitor on a table? Adam Silver knows that if the WNBA officiating doesn't modernize, it will devalue the entire brand. It's time to stop the excuses and start the investment. The $200 fine the league levied against Caitlin for her "refs couldn't stop us" comment has become the most expensive mistake the WNBA front office ever made. Instead of quieting the superstar, it turned her and her teammates, Aaliyah Boston and Sophie Cunningham, into the resistance. Sophie Cunningham's GoFundMe joke went viral for a reason. It exposed the absurdity of the league trying to fine a player with multi-million-dollar endorsements into submission. But more importantly, it galvanized the Fever locker room. We decided that if they're going to call a vicious game against us, we're going to play a vicious game of our own, Aaliyah Boston shared. The bench mob is no longer just about dancing on the sidelines. It is a psychological weapon. It's a group of players who have decided that since the officials won't protect them, they will protect each other. This culture of defiance is what Caitlin Clark calls the accountability era. She argued that for 20 years, WNBA players were told to be grateful for whatever they got. The grateful era is over, Clark declared. We are professionals. We are the ones putting the 20,000 people in the seats. We shouldn't have to be grateful for basic safety and fair officiating. We should expect it. The million-dollar question of 2026 is whether the officiating issues are rooted in corruption or incompetence. Caitlin Clark leaned toward a mix of both, which she calls structural negligence. I don't think every ref wakes up and says, "I'm going to screw over the Fever today," Caitlin mused. But I do think there is a veteran bias. There is a feeling that rookies, no matter how much hype they have, need to be humbled. When an official watches a veteran shoulder check me and calls it incidental, but calls a foul on me for a hand check, that's not an accident. That's a choice. That's an attempt to maintain an old hierarchy that the fans have already moved past. Stephanie White's master file of 500 missed calls has reportedly been shared with the WNBA Players Association as a key piece of leverage for the 2026 CBA negotiations. The players are now demanding a referee performance index, a public-facing grading system where officials who consistently fail to meet accuracy standards are relegated to lower-tier games. With the 2026 World Cup in Berlin on the horizon, the officiating crisis has taken on international stakes. International FIBA referees are notoriously more literal with the rules than WNBA officials. Caitlin Clark suggested that she is looking forward to the World Cup specifically because the officiating will be more professional. In FIBA, a foul is a foul, Caitlin said. They don't care if you're a legend or a rookie. They don't let the paint become a violent place, just for the sake of grittiness. I think Berlin is going to show the world what I can do when I'm actually allowed to move freely without being tackled. It's going to be a wake-up call for the WNBA. If the rest of the world can officiate a fair game, why can't we? Caitlin concluded her groundbreaking interview with a message to the WNBA's officiating crews. She pointed out that in 2026, there is no such thing as a missed call anymore. With 4K cameras, high-speed replays, and millions of fans watching on social media, every mistake is magnified and archived. You can fine me $200 or $2,000, but you can't fine the fans, Caitlin said with a smirk. Every time you miss a call, it's on TikTok 10 seconds later. Every time you tell a player to grow up, instead of doing your job, the world hears it. The fans are the real referees now, and they are calling techs on the league every single day. My advice to the WNBA? Stop fighting the players and start fighting the inconsistency. Because if you lose the trust of the fans, you lose everything. The ref war of 2026 has changed the WNBA forever. Caitlin Clark didn't just break her silence. She broke the code that kept players from demanding better. The Indiana Fever are no longer just a basketball team. They are a movement for professional standards. In the 2026 season opener, all eyes won't just be on the players. They will be on the three people wearing the stripes. Because after this interview, the margin for error is zero. The bench mob is rowdy, the master file is open, and the truth is officially out. And that is the final, definitive look at Caitlin Clark's war against WNBA officiating. From the $200 joke fine to the systemic targeting that has fans in an uproar, the 2026 season is starting with a battle for the very soul of the game. But now, I want to hear from you. Do you think the WNBA is actually corrupt in its officiating? Or is this just the growing pains of a league that has outgrown its own infrastructure? Should the WNBA adopt the NBA's replay center immediately? Or does the gritty style of the league depend on letting the refs let them play? Head down to the comments right now and let your voice be heard. If you're standing with Caitlin and the bench mob, drop a hashtag no more excuses in the chat. If you think the refs are doing the best they can with limited resources, let's see your perspective. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because as the 2026 season kicks off, we are the only channel bringing you the unfiltered behind-the-scenes truth. Thanks for watching and stay locked in. The silence has been broken.